When you're looking at organic strategy or your organic creative strategy, what does that output look like to you?
Yeah, so I am a big believer in documenting over creating. I think the creation of content should be product driven, especially in a commoditized market like we're in. We're in promotional products and branded apparel. There's latest trends that come out. There's new technologies. There are things that, will be that next great thing in the promotional product space. And we want to be kind of first to introduce that to our client base. So we do, as it relates to content creation, we try to be funny, and we try to make certain that we create thought leadership. But for the most part, our generated content is heavy on videos that are showcasing events that are happening within the organization, tours, special guests that come in, new product trends that are happening, really trying to keep our following engaged in not only the current events and the goings-ons at Club Colors, but also what does it feel like to be part of our brand? Because we want the internal part of our brand to become an extension to the external. We want people to feel our organization and get somewhat of an idea what it might feel like to interact with us on a business level. And then on the content creation as it relates to product, it's really introducing new ideas and concepts to people. We find that many buyers tend to go back to the well for things that they have ordered in the past. And in many cases, that's because of a comfort zone that they have. They got a good return on that. So we always want to bring new things to their attention so that they're thinking outside the box. Because at the end of the day, it's about the end user receiving the product. And if you keep giving similar products all the time, they start to become desensitized to that. So that's why we're introducing that.
Well, I think that's interesting. The idea of making someone comfortable or familiar with what it's like to work with you before you actually start working with them. I imagine it could curve the sales cycle time. I imagine it could, make inbound very healthy that way. This might not be an easy answer, but what type of content do you find helps with that? I know you said the tours, right? Is that like, from an agency perspective, are you doing case studies and successes and wins?
Yeah.
Or what does that look like?
So it's interesting because in many cases on the corporate side, our clients, they want to lay low as it relates to showing off their brand and referring. Mm-hmm. And we certainly understand that. And then on the college side, you have to be licensed. So in many cases, you have to go through a significant approval process to be able to showcase their logo even in content. So there's a permission process there. So it's interesting as it relates to kind of narrowing the curve, if you were, or shortening the curve. What we're seeing right now is that the traditional methodology of making 50 to 100 phone calls cold to somebody, the answer rate on that has dropped significantly. I mean, you used to make 100 phone calls, 25 people picked up. Now, if you make 100 phone calls, 8 pick up, right? And that's just picking up the phone. So what we're finding is that it's extremely important to become known before you're known. And what that does is it allows for people to be intrigued to buy instead of persuaded to be sold, mm-hmm. right? So what we're trying out as new methods as we continue to go into the future, and sales is changing and marketing is changing, is we're trying out multiple faces, different types of influential type of content that showcase products at work, showcase, to your point, case studies of things that we have done in the past, but we might change the logo on it so it's Club Colors, so that we aren't putting anyone else at a risk or in a position that they didn't want to be. And what we're seeing is that folks, when they're comfortable and see that, the conversation is much more efficient and effective at that point because they already feel comfortable with your brand. Mm-hmm. And now you get to move towards challenges, goals, wants, problems. How can you be a solution? Instead of that difficult introduction call, that's a half hour long and you're just overcoming objections and you're really like, just please pay attention to me. Mm-hmm. We feel like that's going to be supplemented with a ton of influential marketing, case studies, cultural videos, things that really showcase our brand. So people go, you know what? When I'm ready to make a decision, those are the people that I'll take the call from or that I will personally call. Mm-hmm. And that's been key for us. And then secondarily, it's keeping your current client base engaged, because we all know, even if you have clients, somebody else is calling them. So staying front of mind with them and making certain that they feel part of your community, getting away from that transactional type of a relationship, but having them really feel like they are an extension of your brand and you're an extension of their brand is really the mission that we're on right now.
Well, and that's interesting, because one thing that you commonly hear, or the one thing I commonly see when it comes to organic content, is people talking about using it solely for leads or inbound leads. You mentioned using it for existing client engagement. Are there any other benefits or any other avenues that you see viable to pull from when it comes to organic content?
So I have this belief, and I'll say it in 3 words. We believe in the power of 3 here: inspire, engage, influence. Mm-hmm. If you immediately just start influencing with a call to action on everything, immediately you will be found out. Mm-hmm. You'll be found out that your content is all call to action driven, and you're simply just trying to give somebody an invitation to click on something so they'll buy something. So we spend a good period of our time working on cadence. And a lot of that cadence is a mix of, we want to inspire, we want to teach, we want to educate, we want you to feel something, we want you to know who's steering the ship. We want you to really embrace that, our personnel and our culture. From there, and we see this all the time, whether it be on Instagram or TikTok or especially on LinkedIn. You connect with somebody and immediately they send you a 7-paragraph DM with 12 links to it. I don't have time for that, number one. And number two, it just showed me that how you do one thing is how you do another. Mm-hmm. So you just shortcutted the whole process of treating me like a human just to get to the business. Mm-hmm. So our process of engaging is researching somebody's profile, understanding what they're working on, reading their content, knowing that they got a promotion a year ago, knowing that they just had an anniversary, and then creating messaging through DM process that is customized, whether that be you can hold down the microphone on DMs on LinkedIn and send a little audio message, which, by the way, if you get an audio message, you have to open it. Mm-hmm. Like it's intriguing. And we find that, and then a little 20-second video that doesn't ask for anything. It simply thanks the person for connecting with you and lets them know that you are going to support their content. That's why people are on LinkedIn. They're on LinkedIn because they want to learn off of their feed. They want to see where opportunity is, and they want to engage with intelligent people that are like-minded. Well, if you just start asking for things right off the bat, you're going to tune them out and turn them off. So we want to engage in a way where we show that we're going to support them first, and then the secondary benefit of that is they start paying attention to us. Then we'll mix in a call to action every once in a while with a promo code. We'll do a product review, and we'll go, by the way, order this by December 1st, you get a 10% discount code. But it's not every single time. You'll start to lose the trust of your community if you do that.
Yeah, for sure. And I know with that thought leadership content too, so, leads helpful with it, right? Engaging existing clients. One thing that I've found helpful with it as well is that thought leadership can lead to, I don't want to say poaching team members, but finding new team members, right? Mm-hmm. From competitor agencies or just from other companies as well, because I've seen prospective team members in calls or through application stuff reference like the podcast or the content on LinkedIn or things like that as well, which is always great because it helps you get in front of, A+ players as well.
Yeah, I think that the idea for the podcast for us was threefold. Number one, we wanted to become sticky with our clients. So in between the time, we're a very event-driven business in that, folks don't just wake up in the morning and decide to buy 2,000 sweatshirts, right? They have an initiative. They're rolling out a new product. They're installing new core values. They have something they want to rally around. Or they're throwing an event, or it's a president's club, whatever it might be. So it is a timing-based sale. And what we found with our clients is we want to be sticky in that we want to show them that we add value to their cause in between. So our podcast was built on the premise of bringing in our current clients and promoting them. promoting their brand, promoting their thought leadership. We'll get the secondary attention because, as you know, being a podcast host, people come for the guest, they stay for the host, right? So they'll go for one episode to see that person they're friends with. But if they like what the host has to say and it's a good show, they'll stick around. So we'll gain secondary benefit from that. Second, we want to bring on prospective clients, folks that we are very interested in doing business with, but we don't want to just come out and make the sales pitch to them. What we'd rather do is have them come in for a tour, be part of the show, show them our facility, provide them with some samples, and then promote them and promote them and promote them. I can tell you that give mindset, that collaborative mindset, has caused many of those clients to go, look, we're locked down with the company right now, but if something happens, you're the next call. And that's great for us. And then the third is to bring on influential people, like you mentioned, from other, even our suppliers or completely different industries like the SaaS industry, folks that really understand how to build a brand, what is happening in marketing, and they understand the sales funnel and the marketing funnel, and they can speak to that. And we learn from that as an organization. So we'll introduce that to our team and go, here's some great ideas. By the way, this is probably what you should be talking to a client about because this is what experts at other organizations are talking about. So that has been instrumental for us. And our podcast has been built on the premise of edutainment, right? We want to educate, but we also want it to be fun and funny and loose. We don't want it to be like a teaching session necessarily or like a classroom session. We want people to giggle a little bit. And that has allowed us to stay front of mind in between those gaps.
And I personally think any business should have a podcast. I don't know if you
I agree.
I mean, I think podcasting, for a while, there was a ton of them. There could still be considered a lot of podcasts, but I just think there's so much continued opportunity for podcast content and just podcasts in general.
So somebody had said to me, I was kind of whining about the results of one of the episodes I've done. And you know this from podcasts, like you think you have a fire episode and you're like, this one's the one, man. They're going to download this like crazy, right? So I was all excited about it. I launched it and it just didn't take off. It just didn't get the traction. And so I was talking to one of our podcast advisors and he said, let me ask you a question. How many times in a week do you get a chance to stand up for an hour and speak to 150 people? And I was like, not often. He goes, quit whining. Okay. It didn't get the thousands, but you got to hundreds of people that heard your thought leadership. And that happens every single week. And I went, you know what? You're absolutely right. So.
Well, and one thing I've been trying to shift my mindset to as well is the podcast itself, like the downloads. I used Buzzsprout to monitor performance there, but that's one thing. But the impressions and reach from the short 2-3 minute clips that I put on LinkedIn or on YouTube, like that, that's where the real reach is. Like that. And then what I am working to do more of with the podcast clips is tell the story there. So instead of it just being like a segue to get them to listen to the podcast, because the likelihood of 99% of people staying on LinkedIn is high, they're not going to go to the podcast. So just giving them all the details there, giving them all the information on that individual piece.
Completely agree with you. The idea of the long form content, we know that people have short attention spans, but it allows you to record a significant amount of content and to clip it into short form content. And you can then create a library of clips that are relevant to whatever seasonality you have in the business. If you're trying to speak to your team internally, if you just had somebody who came in and, they're on the fence, let's say, as a client, and you can send out a clip that might have them see that and go, okay. So I totally agree with you. The long form content is done because, as you know, in a podcast, you're not going to fill an hour with everything being brilliant, but you're going to get a lot of content in there that you can clip together to get different messages out at different times that influence people to pay more attention to your brand, feel more comfortable with your brand before they make the big decision to partner with your brand. And that's important.
100%. And, when it comes to the overall content strategy on organic, do you, with your company in specific, do you have each individual person just kind of has their own free floating content strategy on LinkedIn or whatever it may be? Or do you feel like you all have kind of an alignment on the focus for content?
Yeah. So we have social media guidelines, and then we have established, some principles. We want folks to mainly stick to core values. We want folks to stick to the thing that they're an expert at within the organization, present culture. We try and provide a lot of events weekly within the organization that they can capture moments. What we have done is set boundaries. We don't want anyone to speak politically. We don't want anyone to virtue signal. We don't want anyone to bring in anything that could potentially be polarizing to an audience. The reality is that we're trying to speak to everybody. Everybody's a part of a brand, and there's some really key ways that you can speak to everybody, where some will really get hooked in and love that, and others at least will be like, okay, I see where they're coming from. They may not engage further. So yes, we have social media guidelines. What we are interested in doing is creating boundaries, giving people freedom within that, and creating opportunities for them to document. So it's clean, it's healthy, it's fun, and it really showcases the truth of who we are. What we don't want to have happen is people come into the building and go, oh my gosh, it's nothing like what they post on social media. Like, this is what we see from some companies. They're posting all this stuff on social media that creates one image, and then you go to their facility and it's like, holy cow, this is two different stories. Mm-hmm. We want our story to be consistent. And in doing so, we have to set the boundaries, but give our team freedom within that to also add their own personal flavor to some of the topics that we try and create for them.
Well, and that's interesting because I've heard the utmost extreme of brand guidelines or of guidelines, which is I've heard some companies don't let their people post unless it's like a pre-authorized, pre-made post that they just then roll out through like a schedule that way. What's your thoughts on that? Have you ever seen that?
Well, it depends on the industry, right? So we're in marketing, we're in branding, we're in promo. We're supposed to be the fun people, right? Mm-hmm. What we do for a living is create gifts that you're going to give to your employees and your clients. So there's a certain level of fun that we have to be able to showcase. But if you're, let's say, there are financial institutions that have to adhere to SEC guidelines and all these different things, and insurance companies don't want to cross lines. So I can understand that from industry to industry, that maybe they don't want folks going out and creating content and having to police, let's say, 1,000 pieces of content that are coming from 500 different people on a daily basis. That could be detrimental. Certainly understand that, but we're a mid-sized organization, and we've got some agility, and we are very principled, and we are very clear on what our core values are and what our mission is. Mm-hmm. And we simply ask people to stay within that. But to the point of not allowing an employee to post and tag and, do a quick video with one of their peers talking about the events that are happening in the organization. No, we want that message out there. We want people to feel that. Remember, part of what we do for a living is help organizations to burst their culture, mm-hmm. to make their culture pop. Well, we have to be the proof of concept of that. We have to show that internally so that folks go, okay, they're living that out as well.
Yeah, 100%. No, 100%. And do you use any type of like tool to monitor like post or verbiage in post, or do you just kind of trust the team to follow the brand guidelines that way?
So in my role, much of the folks that are producing content that would go on multiple platforms that would really be company driven, mm-hmm. I'm looking over the video before it's posted, and I'm looking at all the copyright first, and then we'll send off and approve. We want speed to market with our content, but we would rather have it be right than fast. Mm-hmm. So it's an extra step, but it's a step that's worthwhile. For the most part, the remainder of our team is typically taking a picture of a project they did or their teammates or something like that, and just saying, hey, look, another great day at Club Colors, check out our website, that type of stuff. So, we luckily have not had any type of situation where we've had folks that kind of went rogue on us. Mm-hmm. But I have asked the team to tag me in their post. So, I'm pretty much looking at everything. And part of that is because I want to help them to drive their algorithm. Secondly, I might go to them and go, hey, look, let's change the copyright on this. Need you to edit the copyright. But that is such a rarity for us.
Well, and team building a personal brand for themselves is a win for the company because, limiting things to just the company page limits the reach, right? So having team members be able to build up their profiles and build up their reach helps get the company out there as well, which is good.
100%. And I really do think that we are going towards, and I think the world is, marketing and sales really kind of smashing together as it relates to the front end side. Account management is account management, right? You've got your partnerships. You're doing a lot of follow-up. It's a lot of advisement. It's really a lot of interaction and in-between project conversation. That front end, though, of new lead generation, demand gen, that turns into a demo, that turns into an opportunity. I see that starting to move towards a multitude of influencers that really need to be showcasing products, showcasing messaging, showcasing concepts and ideas in different ways. People want to see how something works. Like they don't want to see a picture of, again, we're in promotional products. They don't want to see a picture of 12 tumblers in 12 different colors. Mm-hmm. They want to see it in action. And, even if you can make them laugh a little bit, or you can show the practicality of it, that is going to be key to people taking appointments. Mm-hmm. People don't want to be cold called. I came up in the business where you cold called and you asked for 10 minutes right now, mm-hmm. and you presented. And then they were like, I'm not interested. Or they were like, calling me back, or like, this is great. Let's keep talking. People don't buy that way anymore. They want to scroll. They want to go, oh, that stopped the scroll. Oh, that's really cool. Oh, let me click here and dig deeper. Mm-hmm. And it takes maybe 10 of those before they go, okay, let's have a call. Mm-hmm. Right? So I really see the front end of business development being the person that is actually going to make that call after they see it, also part of the content.
Yeah. And so having your team as influencers, but one interesting thing is, the D2C space or direct to consumer space has had influencers, UGC, the Kim Kardashians of the world, but the B2B space and LinkedIn, you see this a lot more on LinkedIn, especially yes. Twitter now. There's a lot of B2B influencers on Twitter and LinkedIn now, to where like if a well-known business owner, not saying everyone's doing this, or a marketer in the D2C space references a software or something like that, there's a great opportunity that they have some sort of incentive to be doing that, which is a whole new realm or a whole new space to know that there's B2B influencers out there.
Yeah, I think that the hard part about having a B2B influencer is, unless there is extreme understanding and communication of the guidelines, you could run into a bit of an issue. So I like the idea of having B2B influencers. I think looking at them coming as like a private contractor kind of a thing is something that is probably something down the road. It could be a bit dangerous. I think you got to align with the right person, be able to really control that variable. I think for us right now, it's finding people within our organization that have the chops to do it and really enjoy it and want to do it. Mm-hmm. And in many cases have gone through the sales training, because I think there is a lot to the ability to communicate and to speak to what the client's challenges are, what their problems are, what their needs and wants are. Mm-hmm. So it's not like, an infomercial presentation kind of a thing, but it's like, hey, look, we know that people have this problem. Here's a solution. And I think that is the way that we're going to go about it.
No, that makes sense. One thing I've heard, I can't say this is 100% accurate. One thing I've heard is can often be like the B2B influencers or well-known people getting like minute advisory shares based on deals started from the content that they put out and things like mm-hmm. that. It's kind of an implied win-win for both parties that way. Yeah. So this is all good. What would you say some of the biggest marketing opportunities or challenges for you are I would say in 2023, but we're basically in 2024 at this point.
I think we're all feeling a bit of a challenge. World events, economic conditions, supply chain issues with banks. These things tend to scare CEOs. And when CEOs are looking for something to minimize in the way of cost because they're being cautious, they tend to look towards marketing spend. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily digital marketing spend, because they still want to communicate with their audience. They still want to have call to action, but they do minimize the amount of in-person and virtual events they do, the amount of giveaways they do, the amount of promotional products and branded apparel that they might provide, what they do on employee stores. We build, manage, and curate over 150 online company stores, and they might minimize the level of premium of product. We can go from a low price point to premium. When things are really good, you see more of the North Face and the Travis Mathew going on the company web store. Whereas when things get tight, it starts to condense. They start to condense the product that is being sourced and curated. So, I think that the difficulty that we see is kind of playing the wave on that. And do you zig when everyone zags, or do you need to understand that this is not a short-term thing? This is something that perhaps is going to last for a bit, and you need to start to really understand what is the agenda of your client and what is your client dealing with operationally. I think a lot of organizations like us get very focused on product. They get very focused on making the transaction, and they don't think about what the client that they're interacting with is going through from a business perspective. Mm-hmm. Are they in a cost control mode? Are they in a revenue gain mode? Are they trying to grow through acquisition? They're trying to bring additional personnel into the fold of their core values. So we see a lot of opportunity in that. Our competition tends to be very commodity based and transactional. And we've spent a lot of time and energy in investing into training our people to ask business of the business questions, because nobody buys promotional products or branded apparel just as a nice to have in a giveaway. There's always an intention behind it. At least there should be. And that intention is typically layered. Their intention of the event, their boss's intention of the end user experience at that event, and the boss's boss saying, how is this going to drive revenue, increase profit, increase shareholder value? If we understand all of those, then we can reverse engineer to get amazing products. But we are facing headwinds. I think all of us are going to face headwinds, and typically marketing gets tightened. So it's even more important that we understand the position of our client base and our future clients, so that we can adapt our offering to the solutions that are relevant to them.
Yeah, that's one thing I commonly have seen on social, LinkedIn, Twitter, is people talking about, potential recession Q1, Q2, if we're not already in one. Mm-hmm. And at a marketing conference I was at, I kept hearing the term cost control for 2024 as the focus with things. Now, this was D2C brands, right? This was e-commerce brands, but that was a common verb or a common term I kept hearing.
Well, remember, it's across the board. Look, we're all feeling it at the gas pump. We're all feeling it at the grocery store. Mm-hmm. We're all feeling it from Netflix to playing around a golf and anywhere you go. We're all feeling it a bit. Well, guess what? If we're feeling it, then obviously corporations are made up of people, and we all buy and use the same raw goods, the same materials. So, yeah, I think a lot of folks are in a cost control mode. Now, that's an advantage for us, in my opinion, because if you are a solution-focused organization, then you'll be able to adapt. But moreover, if you've gotten enough content out there to the marketplace, folks will, in a difficult economy, say, let's look for a change. Now's a good time to look at a change, mm-hmm. right? When everything's rolling, everything's going good, you don't dig in and look at what your providers are doing for you. Mm-hmm. You're like, it's good. We're good. Everyone's making profit. Everyone's happy. Everything's fine. So our partners are good. It actually was a benefit to Club Colors, and I want to say this in a very cautious and politically correct way. It was a benefit to our business on the way that we reacted to the crisis of COVID, because we were able to really dig in and understand what people wanted and then figure out how to adjust our offering to meet their needs. And I think that that's going to happen again for us. We're not looking for a difficult economy, but I think that we understand that when difficult economies come on, people dig into their books. They start looking at the numbers. They start looking at where they can create a bigger return on investment from their partners. They start looking at how they can be smarter with the way that they go about process and procedure. So they become open-minded to at least looking at another provider. That opens up opportunity for us.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. And, if you had to summarize everything that we've talked about today into a marketing mindset or just overall mindset, what mindset should marketers and business owners have?
I think marketers and business leaders should be focused on creating layers of their content creation. You definitely want to talk about your products and services. You definitely want to talk about the current events that are happening at your organization. You definitely want to showcase your culture. And you definitely want to create content that speaks to the problems that your clients have. And you want to have them running on a cadence so that every single day they know what to expect, but they never know what to expect.
Mm-hmm. And for anyone listening that's at the stage of figuring out what they'd like to do in the marketing industry, what marketing role or roles do you think will have the highest demand opportunity in the next 3 to 5 years?
Influence marketers, 1,000%. I think half of sales, sales departments, I think SDRs, we're already seeing heavy SDR activity that are getting very active on LinkedIn because they're realizing they don't have the horsepower to make 980 phone calls in a week. So they need to cast a wide net and get people's attention so they can have better phone calls. So I think that influencer marketing is going to become an extension of the sales team. I don't know that it's going to be part of the marketing team. I think marketing is going to do a lot of call to action. I think they're going to do a lot of real curated materials and collateral and those types of things. I think influential marketers, easy for me to say, are going to almost fall under the umbrella of that front end business development, SDR, and really getting the ball rolling, activating an opportunity with a client, activating attention. That's where I see it. That's where I'm leaning.
Yeah, don't hold me to this, but I think I saw something a few weeks ago about it was Zoom infos or somebody's stock plummeting after reports. And it was just, talk on LinkedIn about, people aren't necessarily looking for Zoom info type tools anymore because that type of outreach isn't the top priority for a lot of companies now. Yeah,
folks don't answer the phone. Post-COVID, folks just do not answer the phone. And if they do, they really are not exactly excited about taking the phone call. Now, if they've seen several pieces of content, here's what I love. This is my favorite thing in the whole world. I get on a call with somebody, whether it be a Zoom call or over the phone, and they go, "Oh my gosh, I feel like I know you." My heart melts when I hear that because it's like, okay, well, that's the reason I've been doing all this for 2 years. It wasn't because I expected people to see a post of mine and then send me, 12 DMs from 12 different people going, "Can I buy something from you?" Like I never expected that. But what I was hoping for, and it has happened, is when I did get that interested client on the phone, I didn't have to break ice with them for a half hour. They don't have a lot of time. They want to get to it. And they want to get to it with somebody who's consistent from their persona online and in person. And they want to do it with somebody that they almost look at as like, wow, you were behind the camera, or it's like I'm talking to a TV personality right now. I find that really, really cool. And I've had it happen hundreds of times now over the last 2-3 years. And it's just absolutely brilliant because you get right to the solutions. You get right to the depth of conversation. And, I would highly recommend that people in sales and marketing start doing a lot of research before you get on a call with somebody so you can actually make them feel that way as well. If you open up a call with, "I just read your post In fact, I read one post and I had to go back and read the next 6. Oh my gosh, I love your perspective. Let me ask you a question. Why do you think that way? All of a sudden now, you're engaged in conversation, and it's just conversation. You're not, do you mind if I have 2 minutes of your time to present? Right? That, people don't want that anymore. They just don't. I don't, and I'm in the field.
Yeah. And John, tell us, where can listeners connect with you and learn more about you and your business?
Yeah, so you can email me at jmorris@clubcolors.com. I'm on LinkedIn. You'll see 2 clovers, one in front of my name, one behind it. That's to weed out the bots. Okay, I am Irish, but it's more to weed out the bots. So yeah, send me a DM, send me a video, send me a voice message, and please follow all of our social presence. And then I have a podcast that I host called In the Club, powered by Club Colors. Anywhere you can find podcasts, if you want to listen to it, Apple, Spotify are probably your best. If you want to watch it, because I'm in a beautiful studio, you can watch it on YouTube.
John, this was a good episode. I appreciate everything you shared. Thanks for coming on.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.